This is a podcast about both having autism and living with someone who has autism. My mom is Sonya, and I'm Josh, and this is Josh Has Autism.
Hey everybody, welcome to Josh Has Autism. You didn't hear that familiar hey, because Josh isn't here with me today. But the person that is here with me today, I'm so excited about, is RJ.
Hi.
Everybody knows RJ. To catch you up, if in case you don't know, RJ used to be married to Josh's sister Bug, and they got divorced. They're very amicable. And even though he's not technically and legally my son-in-law anymore, he's still my boy.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Yes. So very much a part of our lives, and I like it that way. Yeah. And you and Bug have done a great job of just like being friends, and it wasn't always easy.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I think so.
Yeah. So good. Thank you so much for doing the podcast with me, because I wanted to get your take on some things.
Okay.
I think that you have a unique experience that not everybody has, that you live with Josh.
Yeah.
He's your roommate.
Yeah. It's interesting because I feel that it's we're really good friends, and so it's really easy to live with him. But at the same time, it's difficult because there's two things I've noticed with him. One is that he's extremely focused. And if it's something that he wants to be focused on, then he is on that and nothing else. There's an extreme amount of tunnel vision, which then makes him unaware of everything around him.
Right.
Like, the simple things like, making sure that the house is clean or getting out, and getting some fresh air every once in a while. Like, he's just, there's this very strong kind of correlation between the unawareness and the focus that is extremely apparent when I see it.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because he's hyper-focused.
Yeah.
And then oblivious.
Yeah, all at the same time.
All at the same time.
It's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you two are really good friends.
Yeah.
So living together works.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't mean that it's always easy for you, because there are things that frustrate you.
Yeah. Well, and that in itself is kind of weird because I'm a very passive person.
Mm-hmm.
I've never enjoyed conflict of any kind. I do everything I can to either be extremely diplomatic or just go through the mindset, if nobody else is going to do it, I'll just do it.
Mm-hmm.
And so there is a frustration, but it never like boils up to anything like anger or anything like that. It's just like it's kind of the difference between a pinch and a slap.
Okay.
Like someone pinches me, it's like, ow, don't do that. Someone slaps me, it's like, yo, hey, don't do that.
Right.
And so that's kind of it's more like a pinch for me,
okay.
The frustration. And so I don't really ever, we don't fight ever or get into anything. I just, either, he does what he needs to, or I wait a couple of days and then end up just defeated in doing it myself,
But that's frustrating for you.
It can be, and sure. Like if I've worked all day and like a 12-hour shift and I come home to that, yeah, it's extremely frustrating because like I'm just tired. I don't want to do anything. I just want to sit.
Mm-hmm.
But it's weird because at the same time, before he moved in, I was living by myself, so I was already used to having to do things like that. Coming home tired and still having to take care of what needs to be done.
Well, I guess the frustrating part comes in not because you're capable of doing that.
Yeah.
Well, the frustrating part is that when you ask him to do something, or when he says he's going to do something, and then it's not done.
Right.
And it's not a one-time event. It's a continual experience, over and over and over and over.
Yeah.
He's not he's not following through or he's not initiating.
Right.
Those are things that are very difficult for him. We've talked before, and right now we're trying to get him somebody to support him in life skills. I guess it's from COVID, but I don't know.
Yeah.
We've got phone calls and messages to a place here that supposedly does that. Well, then I'm not sure what's going to happen with that. Either they are going to be able to do this, or hopefully recommend another agency that can.
Right.
Because when he was young and he had a TSS with him in school, that person's job was to be his support in the moment. Because when he learned something like at a doctor's office, a psychiatrist's office, it's hard for him to take that into real time. So what we're looking for is that life skills support, very different,
Yes.
life skills support for him to be shown that in real time.
Okay.
And we, Josh and I had an appointment with his psychiatrist a few days ago, and what she said is that I can't be that person for him anymore because we've got into a relationship where that he knows that I'll be forgiving.
Right.
He knows that I might get upset because he's not doing something, but I'm forgiving. I'm understanding.
Right.
And that was even Josh's word, to understanding about what happens and what doesn't happen. And so it's got to be somebody else that he's accountable to.
Right.
When it came up, the fact that, he said, well, what about RJ? So the question with the psychiatrist was, he needs to, if he's going to do something, set goals. And then he's got to be accountable to somebody for that. And the idea was that the embarrassment or uncomfortable feeling about not doing something that he was asked to do or is responsible for doing,
Mm-hmm.
then he would have to go back and say it to that person. So the motivation then is to do it. Well, and I'm not going to be the one because I'm always forgiving.
Right. Okay.
And too understanding about it. Well, so he brought up you, and I said, well, RJ has enough anxiety
Yeah.
and so you can tell me about this or not, but I mean you have anxiety and you don't like confrontation.
Yeah.
It's the very thing that he might benefit from, but it's the thing that you're adverse to.
Yeah. It's such a conundrum. Yeah, I have. I pretty much live on the edge, of exploding. I'm always on the edge. I could be doing absolutely nothing, and I'm right on the edge.
When you say exploding,
Yeah.
what does that mean for you? Because you're not violent.
No, not at all. Just at the point of just giving up.
Oh.
Entirely, just breaking down and being done. And so it's a constant. That is probably 75% of my conflict for the day, is trying to keep that in check.
Wow.
And so that's why I like staying away from conflict and from any kind of negative energy at all. I try to do everything I can to stay away from it, just because there's so much stress naturally in me that I don't need more at all. And so that's why I don't try to look at it and be like, hey, this needs to get done. Mm-hmm. I just go do it, because I feel like that I guess I don't know what mood he might be in, and if I were to go and say, hey man, this needs to get done, and whatever it is, I don't want there to be some sort of lash out at the end.
Well, and what you're talking about, and I thought it would be extremely helpful for you to do the podcast today, because when Josh is on the podcast, anybody anybody that can hear
Uh-huh.
understands that he's extremely intelligent.
Yeah, most definitely.
That his verbal expression is, far surpassing what most of us have the ability to do.
Right.
The thing that I don't know about this, it might or might not come across. We talk about how he feels. We talk about those areas of life that are difficult. But what his dad and I have experienced, there's 4 of us that know this. There's his dad and I, Bug, because she's his sister, and now you.
Yeah.
There's only 4 of us that have ever lived with him.
Right.
And what happens is that mood that you're talking about, Josh doesn't, like you, he doesn't lash out in a violent way.
Right.
He's not going to hurt anybody. But what he does do is if he's feeling elevated, if he's feeling just hypersensitive and his sensory overload, and you approach him then, what you'll see often is his arms go up in the air, and he'll clench his fists, and sometimes he'll put his arms over his head, and it just seems like it's too much for him.
I got you.
And so even if it's something that is not that big of a deal, can, like you say, that you're always on the edge there, I think that Josh is too.
Yeah,
And you just don't know where he is.
Okay.
What?
I'm just trying to figure out why 2 guys who are on the edge are living together. It doesn't seem like a good fit. And if we didn't get along, that probably wouldn't be. That's just wild to think about.
Well, I think that's what you're talking about, right? You don't know what mood he's in. Not like he's going to lash out at you in a angry way,
Right.
But that you don't know if he's going to receive it, be able to process it. Then there's another issue altogether. Is he going to be able to take action on it?
Right.
Because sometimes, even though he knows something, taking action on it is where he stumbles.
Right. Yeah.
So he can see what needs to be done. He doesn't know how to start it.
Yeah, it might come off too much for him.
Well, and it depends, because sometimes I forgot. Thanks for reminding me.
Yeah, and I've had moments with him where he's done that.
And then other times he will shut down.
Yeah, and what I've seen with that is that it almost sound like he's super exhausted. Like his voice will come off that way. Yeah. And then he'll say he doesn't understand what's going on. He just doesn't feel well.
Right.
And so I've had that too, where he doesn't want to do anything just because he feels off for some reason. And he doesn't know how to explain it.
Right.
And those are the days where I feel that way sometimes, and I still buckle in and do it.
Yeah.
So I don't know, and that might be the difference between, someone who deals with anxiety who's autistic and somebody who deals with anxiety who is not.
Right.
And how they handle things, because somebody who's, I've even seen this with Connor, that if he's overwhelmed, he shuts down.
Yeah.
And so for me, it just, when I get, overwhelmed, I still fight through it until I eventually break, which has only happened to me once in my life. But with them, it seems like, with Josh, it seems like it's a constant thing that happens, where he just gets overwhelmed and just shuts down instead of trying to fight through it.
And I think that's the part that's very difficult. And I certainly hope people don't think like we're bashing Josh, because what I feel like is I want your opinion.
Right.
I want you to express what you're experiencing with him, because I'm mom, so
Right.
I have a different relationship with him.
And I wouldn't bash Josh. He's too good of a guy.
He's awesome.
He's caring. He's passionate about the things that he wants to be passionate in, which I think anybody who's passionate about something is. He's funny. He's witty, super intelligent, kind-hearted. I just, it's definitely it's more observations,
Yeah.
than anything.
The thing that you're talking about is the very thing that is so difficult right now. And he has this wonderful psychiatrist now that also is an expert in medication management.
Mm-hmm.
And so she's really got him on a regimen for him. I say this all the time. Medicine's not for everybody. We fought it for a long time. But ultimately, for Josh, it's what he needs.
Yeah.
And he acknowledges that himself because he's been allowed to participate in those decisions his whole life.
Okay.
Every time he would take something, I would take notes. How do you feel? Are you appetite? Whether he's sleeping well, sick to his stomach, anything, the whole thing. I just want to know what this does, and is it make him feel better?
Right. Okay.
So, yeah, I didn't want to. I fought that a long time. Did not want him to put him on medicine. But the thing that when we're talking to this psychiatrist, this most recent visit,
mm-hmm.
she said a statement that we all know. To me, Josh couldn't take any more of the conversation and he left the room. She said, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink.
It's very true.
And sometimes it feels that way with Josh.
Yeah.
And I don't understand what's missing, so I don't know where to look for help.
Mm-hmm.
And at this point, what I feel is like it's a life skills support. Because I don't know how to help him to get through that. I don't know what's happening. I don't think anybody knows what's happening. And it just seems like we had on our last week,
mm-hmm.
Richard.
Okay. Yeah.
And Richard is on the spectrum. And he's 46, might be 47 by now, but I think he's 46. And he's at a job. He's gone to college. He's married. Has kids. So when I look at Richard and I look at Josh, I'm thinking, what is different? What is it with Josh? What's happening? How can we figure out that thing that is stopping him from taking action
mm-hmm.
of any sort? Because we can talk and talk and talk and talk and he'll agree. And then when we're done talking, nothing happens. And I guess what I'm saying is I don't ever know really what to do because I never know what's going to take and what is really going to make a difference for him. And as his mom, I want for him to be happy.
Right.
And the thing is, I know that he's not. He's brilliant. He's so talented. And he comes on the podcast and he presents himself very well,
mm-hmm. very
eloquently. I look like an idiot half the time.
Don't we all?
But he's amazing. He expresses himself in such a way that just is so insightful. And that's once a week for what? Half hour, an hour maybe, depends however long he's able to go. But on daily living, it seems like he's struggling every day. And it doesn't seem like anybody can reach him. We've addressed, is it depression? We've addressed, is it ADD? The doctor she does put it in an autism category.
Okay.
The psychiatrist is putting it in the autism category.
So whatever is going on, it's definitely the autism.
Well, it's like he's got these other diagnoses as well,
okay.
right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like one time somebody asked me, "What do you think Josh would be like without autism?" I'm like, I have no idea.
Oh.
There's not. It's like this is who he is in all his brilliance and his. The thing that you just used to describe Josh is above and beyond. I would think if I had to describe him in one word, it would be kind.
But autism isn't the personality of the person.
Exactly.
And so my thought would be is if he didn't have autism, if he didn't have any ADD issues, anything like that, the dude would probably be working for NASA.
Yes.
Or a well-renowned mathematician or something along those lines, or a renowned writer. His brilliance goes that far.
And you know what? It's funny because any one of us could become that sort of thing. I mean, even if you work, I don't care what you do.
Yeah.
You can make a difference in people's lives.
Right.
You can make them feel better. If you ever called someplace that you needed to get taken care of and the person on the other end was a total jerk and just it was awful, but then at the same time you can call somebody for help and the other person on the other end was very helpful, was able to get you to the answers you needed. They did it in a way that was nice and made you feel better.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter what job you have, you can affect other people in a positive way, or you can drag them down.
Most definitely.
I always thought people, it's just like this fine line between people expressing their brilliance or being the drunk at the bar in the middle of the afternoon. You know what I mean? It's just like, what is that? 1 or 2 decision difference there. It's just like it's so every decision you make can lead you these directions.
Yeah.
And with Josh, when we talk about that person that asked me that, I was like, well, I never even thought about that because Josh is who he is. There's no reason to separate him from that.
Right.
This is the being that he is.
And that's a great point to make. That'd be like asking anybody, if your kid wasn't doing what they're doing right now, what do you think they would be doing?
Right.
It's like that's a loaded question,
right.
Because they are who they are. Period.
Right. And I have a different take on it too, in that I don't view autism as something that is a disability. It's called that.
Right.
So to communicate effectively, we use that term because that's what our society says.
Mm-hmm.
But we all know that, man, people on the spectrum, they have an insight that the rest of us are flubbing over all. I mean, we don't know. We're tripping over ourselves all the time. When folks on the spectrum, they just tell you like it is. So your son Connor, my grandbaby,
Mm-hmm.
He is very direct.
Yes, he is. Oh, yes.
Mm-hmm. He will tell you if he doesn't like something. He will not do what he doesn't want to do.
Right.
And you kind of have to figure out what works with him. How do you reach him? How do you, how do you move him forward comfortably?
Right. And, we talk about directness with him. It's funny because verbally it's the same way. Naturally we speak in metaphors,
Mm-hmm.
similes, slang.
Mm-hmm.
You can't do that with him. You have to be extremely direct about what you're talking about, or he won't get it, or better yet, he'll correct you.
Oh, I get corrected sometimes from the moment we get up. So Connor and Mads, both his sister, they stay with me at least one night a week,
Mm-hmm.
and then I see them throughout the whole week. They'll come over for hours at a time, and so what was I going to say? Oh yeah, so I get corrected constantly, and it's a test, isn't it?
It is.
Like, if you're not in the mood to be criticized, it feels like...
Who is ever in the mood to be criticized?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, but you can be in a mood where, like, you're not stressed, right? Where,
Right.
like, you can just, it can just roll off your back. It's not a big deal. But
but you're still not in the mood to be criticized.
No, that's true.
Because you could be having a really good day, someone starts criticizing you, like, yeah, just let it go.
Let me just say
Just
this.
let it go.
Let me say it. He corrects me all day long.
Yeah.
Maybe that's it. It's not criticism. Well, sometimes it is.
And
But
technically it is.
but he corrects me.
Yeah, and he's the same way with me, too.
Yeah. So if you say something is, let's say, for example, I call something crackers.
Yeah.
And he said, those are not crackers, they are peanut butter crackers.
Yes.
And
Very specific.
Very specific.
Yeah.
And so it's a day full of that.
I feel like I'm constantly apologizing to my kid. And I'm not doing anything wrong.
Yeah. You're like, oh, sorry, you're right. It's
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And it's all day.
Yes.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah. Like that. It's like, oh, yeah. And things that you don't normally think about are now an issue. And you begin to, some things you're not going to make that same, comparison. You're going to say it right next time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But it can be frustrating. It can be very frustrating. There is this thing though that I started doing with both the kids, because they were in the stage where they call me Gammy.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a period of time, still quite a lot at this point too, because they're 4 and 5.
Yeah.
Well, it's Gammy, 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 Gammy. It's Gammy, Gammy. It goes on and on and on. Got to a point where one day I just started saying, Gammy's not here. And so when you're talking about specifics, right? Connor would say, I can see you. So like Madison just laughed and said, "Oh, Gammy," and she would just roll with it. But Connor was like, "I can see you," and so but that initially was something he didn't get. At this point, I've done it enough that he understands that I'm joking. Yeah. That yes, I'm here. Clearly, I'm here. I'm making a joke.
Right.
To get you to stop.
You're doing the polite thing right now. Let's not change that.
So, yeah. So he's very particular, and so is Josh.
Yes.
And so it's interesting to me that you live with your friend that's on the autism spectrum now. Yes. Mm-hmm. That's an adult. And you have a son that's on the autism spectrum that is 5 years old. Yeah,
that's it's weird because they're both very similar, and yet because they're at different levels of, I guess of growth, that it's very different at the same time. But they have very similar qualities to them, like the focus and the unawareness, and it's easier to pull Josh out of something that he's doing than it is to pull Connor out of something, because at his age, it is, you gotta get creative to get him to stop focusing on something.
With Connor, so he's in kindergarten now.
Yeah.
And he goes 4 days a week in the morning for 3 hours, and then he comes home and does some online virtual learning. Mm-hmm. Now today he does one day a week he does just virtual.
Right.
Well, one of the teachers said that Bug was asking her, can his blanket is in his backpack because he needs for it to be with him. Mm-hmm. Just let him know if he's allowed to take it out or not. And what they said is that when he gets it out, which I guess he is allowed to take it out, he just rubs it, he just has it there with him as a comfort.
Yes. What
she said was that she was standing next to him and she had some, something kind of silky kind of pants. Mm-hmm. And I guess what he did is he started like the side of her pants. Yeah, he just started rubbing her pants. And what was interesting is that Josh was the same way. So that I've tried all kind of things to help calm him down when he was Connor's age.
Yeah.
From a little crystal, something that was pretty and smooth
Mm-hmm.
that he could hold. At one point, he had like a little piece of material that was silky,
Mm-hmm.
and he had that in his pocket. And it's just interesting that Connor is now, kind of from even feeling somebody's pants. It's like he's drawn to that, and he's comforted by that.
Yeah, and it doesn't bother him to grab somebody's pants and start feeling it. I like the feeling of different fabrics and different feelings of stuff. There are certain things I don't like touching because it like locks my jaw in. It's weird. I get that feeling where I'm just like, I don't like the feeling of that.
Yeah.
And then there's other things where I'm like, wow, that's really nice. Silk is one of those things. I wouldn't go and grab somebody's silky pants and start playing with it. But he's also 5.
Well, that result might be different too. I mean, he's 5.
Exactly right.
So, like Josh wouldn't do that either because he's been taught not to do that.
Right.
That
Connor's not at that level yet.
I mean, Josh didn't understand that. Those were the things that we worked really hard for him to understand, that other people have like a space that they need. You don't just go and touch people.
Right.
You don't go and grab, So at 5, that's,
Yeah,
that's fine. But you told me the other day that you thought afterwards you realized, you're like, oh, because you called Josh and...
Oh, yeah. So I called Josh. I was on my way home from work. I called Josh. I had asked him previously to do the dishes. He was totally okay with that. Started doing them. When I called him, he was in the middle of doing it. We got into one of our favorite conversations, which is video games. And he dropped everything he was doing to go answer a question for me. And then stayed on that game instead of getting back up after answering the question and going back to do dishes. So that when I got home, only half of it had been done. And I know he didn't realize he had done that.
Yeah.
But yeah, immediately after I got home and saw the dishes, I was like, oh no. What did I do? Because, of course, the focus on something he really loves makes him unaware of what's around him, even if he's already started doing it. Yeah, it's really crazy to see that amount of focus in someone, to the point where everything around them disappears.
And that's what we're really trying to figure out on his behalf. How can we help him to see what's around him? This has been an ongoing issue. This is not new. It's not new. It doesn't, but it also, even the doctors don't quite know how to help him through this. And again, there's been medication adjustments, there's been therapists. Now he's with a psychiatrist that really, she's wonderful, and she really gets him. And yet, she's saying too, is that we can help you. We can give you, the support that you need in this, and the advice and the suggestions and recommendations. But if you don't do those, like she said on her phone, she said, yeah, she gets it. She has a hard time remembering things too. She has so much going on that she has to have a list. I have to have a list every day, or else I forget what I'm going to do. But she says that she has on her phone is Siri, and all she has to do is say, hey, at this time, remind me to do this.
But then you have to remind yourself to do that.
Well, right. But exactly. But if he's saying that he can't go into he doesn't remember to go into his phone he's resistant to making lists. He's resistant to a calendar. So we're trying to say the easiest route you can go to is just to tell your phone.
The phone won't tell you when the time comes.
Well, he said, I don't want my phone set up like that. And I was like, why? Because you think she's going to listen to you? And that's the thing with him. But he said that you have a Echo.
Yes.
And so he said that he could tell the echo. I said the trick then is you've got to be home to hear the echo.
The other trick to that is that the Echo is attached to my phone.
Oh.
So now he's going to put reminders on my phone if
Oh.
he does that. I'm pretty sure of that.
Oh.
It's attached to my calendar, my contacts, all that stuff.
Okay.
So it's very user specific.
Okay. So if we were to get him one that was connected to his phone, and that it's named something different than Echo.
But I'm with you on the fact that then he would have to be home to hear it. It would be much, if he's comfortable doing Echo, he should be comfortable doing his phone.
Maybe you can have a conversation about that with him.
Did he tell you it was the fear of it constantly listening to?
I think so.
Because I've heard the opposite complaint with people about them not liking home automated systems, because if you say okay Google or Echo or Alexa or whatever, that they're constantly listening to you, waiting for you to say that. But we carry around smartphones all day that are waiting for you to say okay Google or hey Siri. Yeah. It's the same thing, except that we're comfortable walking around with them listening to us, but not okay with it at home. Right. I just think it's kind of ironic.
Like, not when you need it.
Right.
It's
like we're afraid that the big businesses and the government are listening to us at home. Yeah, but they're listening to you in your pocket too.
Yeah.
But with him, it's the opposite. I think that's crazy.
Well, I don't really. We have not figured out, and he's not been able to express that piece that's missing.
Yeah.
We don't know what it is. We don't know how to help him to get something done.
Does he have the ability to make something habitual? When we do things, we do it out of habit. That's how we constantly do things over and over again, is to do it out of habit. Of course, we might forget every once in a while, but then when we realize we forgot, we go and do it. It's habitual. And so I'm wondering, does he have an issue with that?
Yeah. I think the only thing that he doesn't, the only thing that fits into that category is taking his medicine. He will remember to take his medicine. Okay. And if he forgot, he will call me and ask me what to do.
So he has become habitual with medicine. Like he's very good about having that.
He's not habitual with hygiene. He's not habitual with even brushing his teeth.
Yeah.
Or doing laundry and other things. So that's what you're talking about right now. This discussion is the very thing that is the biggest struggle for him, because following through, like, he can have a conversation with us.
Yeah.
Agree that it makes sense, but not know how to take the action or to follow through on what we've talked about. Okay. And so it's at a point, though, in his life where it does seem like it's interfering with his well-being, because there are things that need to be done. Laundry needs to be done. Hygiene needs to be taken care of.
What's up?
Doing dishes needs to happen because of the ramifications there. And so it's just we're working on, hopefully we're going to get him connected to somebody that has an idea. We're open to any ideas, because right now it's not working. And there's one part of me that I see the struggle that he's going through, and I don't get it, because the struggle, I look, even the doctors don't know how to help him through this kind of dark area where he'll have an idea to do something, but that follow through is not available to him. He doesn't know how to do that. So we're working on that. When he does things at the apartment, do you remind him of things and then he'll take action? Or
most of the time, that's what I have to do. Yeah. Otherwise, he's not there. And I'm thinking about that now, and there are healthy habits and there are bad, unhealthy habits. Mm-hmm. And maybe it is that he has these habits of, I don't think that, playing video games or watching a movie or or reading are bad habits, but when they become the habits and the only ones, and you're neglecting, like you're saying, life stuff, that should just be naturally a habit to do, then it becomes unhealthy.
Well, I had an idea last night. Connor and Madison stayed the night with me.
Mm-hmm.
And in the middle of the night, I don't sleep well anyway. Well, I was finally asleep. And I sleep, when the kids are here, I sleep, I don't sleep in my bedroom with Dave. I sleep in the little room that's right next door to their room. So they come out, if they need anything, they come right out of that door, and my door is right there, and I'm, right.
Yeah.
Well, I fell asleep, and I don't know how I woke up, but it was startling because Connor was right in front of me, and he said something. It woke me up, and then I heard Dave in the other bedroom, because I must have been loud when I woke up, because it woke him up. But I sleep in there too, so that when the kids come in, we don't wake Dave up. Anyway, last night that happened, so then Connor gets in and wants to sleep with me.
Huh?
So I'm in there with Einstein, and we scoot over. When Connor sleeps, he doesn't just roll over or squirm around a little bit.
He flails.
Yeah, exactly.
He is a dramatic sleeper.
Oh, yes. Yes. It's like he is making a statement all night long.
And now I am turning.
This way, yeah. And so I didn't sleep. I got up. He got in the bed first of all,
Mm-hmm.
and cuddled with me, and we were sharing the same pillow until he jerked his head back and hit me in the forehead with his head. I was like, okay, buddy. I got up and went around to the other side and then moved as far away from him as I could. But still, like that little fist.
Yeah, I have been headbutted, I've been punched, I've been slapped. I have woken up in the morning to him having been completely flipped so that his head was by my feet, and he's kicked me in the face.
Yeah.
From flailing around.
Yes.
That boy has beat me up pretty bad at night.
Yeah, and so that was what my night was like last night. And when I was awake, I thought, oh, so I wonder if it would work for Josh to say that his favorite thing to do is reading.
Yeah.
But what if he can only read after he's gotten things accomplished? Like that, because that's what he gets so immersed in that you're talking about, right? He's so immersed, and to pull him back out of that is sometimes impossible on his own.
Yeah.
It is certainly impossible sometimes. So what if he doesn't start that until things are done? Like it seems like that reading is that thing that he's just gone.
Yeah.
He's not available.
That's true.
We're in the car someplace driving. He's not, most of the time, he's reading.
Yeah.
He's not having a conversation.
Right.
And it's not like I need conversation all the time. It's not like that. It's not like, oh, talk to me. It's
So lonely.
yeah, so lonely. That's his natural, when you say a habit, that's his habitual natural state, I guess, which is reading.
I agree, because more times than not, I don't see him because he's in his room reading.
Mm-hmm.
And that's predominantly what he's doing.
Mm-hmm. And so I wonder if that can be incorporated, this thing that's his favorite, because something has to shift that we just haven't figured out yet. So if, I will talk to him about that today.
Okay.
About maybe doing that. Like, you can't read until you do this. And, of course, I'm not there to, enforce that.
So
and
the 35-year-old has to enforce the 32-year-old. It's good. It's good. Thank you.
Yes. Well, yeah, I just wonder if that will help him.
It could.
Because
it very well could.
Because it really is interfering in his life at this point. So it's become this thing that's really helps him to feel good and is important. We don't want to take that away, but it
Right.
feels like it's become a problem.
And that's the thing. Like I was saying, it's
Yeah.
something that's I don't want to say it's habitual, because I mean technically it is, but more of a hobby. You know, becomes so engrossing in life that you can't pull yourself away from it to see everything else that needs to be done.
Yeah.
That becomes a problem.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, definitely.
Mm-hmm. So you met Josh, what 10 years ago?
Almost,
Yeah,
yeah, I think
yeah.
so.
So yeah, that's
It's
why I
been-
say like
it's
you're.
been a decade.
I
It's
know.
crazy.
I know. That's what I say. You guys are my boys.
I remember first meeting him and Haley, like my brother's autistic, so just if things seem kind of weird, just know that's what's going on. And then after I met him and he left, I was like, there's nothing wrong with this guy. Like, what are you talking about? Like, and not wrong, but like, there's nothing odd about him. There's nothing off. Like, I don't see what you're talking about. He seems normal to me. And then like weeks later, or maybe like a month later, something like that, being around him enough, I was like, okay, something's off.
With the conversation.
Yeah,
sometimes
like
the
his
cadence.
yes,
Right.
yeah.
Right.
It's just something wasn't there that I see in other people. It was weird. Now it's become normal to me. Like
Right.
I just it's every conversation with him is normal now. I don't even realize
Yes.
the little things anymore. Like they're
Right.
gone.
Because what you're talking about is not. It's interesting that there it's a quirkiness.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's just who he is.
Yeah.
And it's the fact that you might not get an answer to you might be having a conversation, but then he checks out and it's done. Only you don't know that. And those are the kind of things that when you say weird, it's his quirkiness.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
doesn't make it wrong. It's just
No,
that's who
and
he is, and so right, exactly. And
I
I
don't mean
think
that at all.
think that's right.
Right.
I think that he definitely does things his own way,
Uh-huh.
and like Connor, we adjust, right?
Yes. Almost definitely.
Yeah.
Constantly. I think more so with him than with Josh.
Yeah.
But like I said before, Josh is at a different level than he is right now in growth. And so with Connor, it's constant readjusting.
Mm-hmm.
You had to go through that with Josh.
Mm-hmm.
I'm having to go through that with Connor now. And
Mm-hmm.
with Josh, I don't have to go through that because he's already been through it.
Mm-hmm.
There's still, like the focus and stuff that still has to be worked on, but the way that he talks to people and the way he gets humor and things like that,
Mm-hmm.
you have already had to adjust to that and had to teach him, the ins and outs of social interaction.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas now I have to do that with Connor. Although with Connor, it's not that, I don't think it's that extreme because he gets humor really well.
Mm-hmm.
To like terrifying lengths because he gets a joke very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
But he also, I think his thing is more, he doesn't really have the patience for anyone else but himself.
Which one are you talking about?
Connor.
Oh.
If he wants to be by himself or play with himself, play by himself, which is what typically he does, then if anybody else tries to join in with playing his games and his toys and stuff, he gets extremely agitated and explosive.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's these little things that I'm having to teach him and try to adjust with that.
And also try to help Madison through that process.
Yeah,
because they're just a year apart.
Yeah.
And the way it goes is that if she's playing with something and Connor wants to play with it, he thinks that he should be allowed to play with it.
Right.
If he's playing with it and she touches it, sometimes it sets him off.
Right.
And it's just, boy, he's real upset by that. And so it also at the same time of helping him manage his experiences,
Mm-hmm.
it's
Yeah.
we help Madison manage hers.
Right.
because we were just talking about this, that Madison gives an awful lot.
Yes.
She, Connor has been and still is so focused on dinosaurs.
Yeah.
And so he wants to, anytime there's TV time,
he wants dinosaurs.
and if it's time to read a book,
he wants dinosaurs.
Yes. And so Madison, it's just that can, that's part of that's as important as helping Connor to be okay.
Yeah,
is to help her know that how she feels matters, what she wants matters.
Right, because she's constantly doing what he wants to do to appease him. And I don't know if in her 4-year-old mind she's trying to get some sort of gratitude from her brother for doing the things he wants to do, or if she's just trying to connect with him. But
or maybe it's just that it's okay with her that he's making these decisions and she's okay with it. From my point of view, she needs to know that her opinion matters. And so that's something I tell her practically every day. How you feel matters.
Well, I mean, you fought me with that when we first met, that I wasn't very opinionated. I was just kind of like, you've got a point, you've got a point, you've got a point. Let's go with those points. And I've had to be more open about how I feel and what I think. And it's
so when you say fought you, I would push you.
You would. I think you've yelled at me a couple of times about it. You're just like, we want your opinion, yours.
Yeah.
We have ours. We want yours.
Yeah.
Speak up. And but with Maddie, you're right. It could be that she's just okay with doing whatever her brother wants to do, or whatever her brother's interested in and she's interested in too. But the problem is that she's never going to find herself if she doesn't push away from him and focus on her own stuff.
Well, and it's not just for our mental health that we separate the kids now.
No, it's for their own.
It's for my mental health too. But yeah, having one of them is drastically different than having two. And I think that it's so important for Madison to feel that independence and that she gets to have the say-so. So she's been over here by herself, and we play and play and play and play and play. And then it can be some TV time. Yeah. So time for lunch, I'll put a show on for you, and I get her little Minnie Mouse table out there. Yeah. What would you like to watch? Well, she'll just say what he wants. And I go, well, you can watch anything you want. If that's what you want to watch, that's okay. But you can watch anything.
Now, does she change her mind when you do that?
When she sees the options, she does.
I gotcha.
So when it's up there on the TV and I tell her you can watch any of these that you want, she does not watch dinosaurs.
No, she doesn't. And I don't even ask her what she wants to watch. I'll put like Disney Plus on, and I'll have like the Disney section open up, and then I'll say, "What do you want to watch?" And she'll say, go down, go over.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah.
And then when she gets there, it's like, all right, cool. That's what we're gonna watch then. And you're right. It is never ever dinosaurs ever or cars. She's getting really into superheroes, which is cool, and that's her own thing.
There's one cartoon about airplanes.
Planes? Is it the show Planes?
Yes. Yeah, she likes that. But yeah, I think that so we're doing the same thing there with her, and I think that that's important to make sure that she knows that she has a voice.
But I do that when they're together. Like, if she wakes up in the morning before he does, I'll put her show on, and when he comes out and says, hey, I don't want to watch this, I'll say, well, we always watch what you watch. We're going to watch what your sister wants to watch right now. And he'll stop complaining and watch it with her, or go play with toys or whatever. But I'm with you. I want her to know that she has a right to her own individual likes and dislikes, that she doesn't have to copy her brother with everything. She doesn't have to try and follow him everywhere, even though they're so close in age. Right. They can be different. It's okay.
Yep. That's so important. So important.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we have been chatting away for almost an hour here.
Yes.
Yeah. So I appreciate you so much. I appreciate you doing the podcast. I appreciate you living with Josh. Yeah. And I think that's... We're going to follow through on the idea of recommending that he doesn't read until he's done what he needs to do.
Okay.
And I know that you're passive. I know that you don't want to, because I don't want to put that on you because it creates anxiety for you.
Right.
And it's what's funny about that is it for you to tell him to do something creates anxiety for you. But if you asked him, he looks at it like you reminding him to do something is helpful for him. So
it's bizarre.
Yeah.
Because if I decide not to tell him and just do it myself, then it stresses him out because he feels like I've disappointed him. Or he's disappointing me, which is not the case. I'm just getting it done.
Right.
And so it's weird.
Yeah. It is kind of
it's an odd situation.
Dichotomy. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, thank you so much, RJ.
Of course.
And I appreciate it. And everybody, hey, thanks so much for hanging out with us again. Hey, please give us 5 stars because that helps us out, as you know that. I ask you every week to do that. If you'll go to my website, sonyaking.com, which, by the way, if anybody had trouble last week getting on, there's been some funky things going on. The podcasts have been getting up on late, and for a few weeks now, actually. The internet, for some reason, we've not been able to get on the website. And there's been things that have come up, and I think Dave has it figured out by now, but it was just really weird. So if you went on there and you couldn't get on there, it was a glitch somewhere. Look, I don't know what I'm talking about, but it involved a certificate. That's all that I know. Don't have that look, RJ, because now I'm questioning the certificate.
No, don't question the certificate. The internet has certificates all over the place.
Okay,
I'm just trying to think of what kind of
it was something that we had paid for, but never got certified. I don't know what it was, but it wasn't, I don't know. Anyway, it kept making it not work, and it kept making me not get emails, and has just been funky for a few weeks now. And I think last week was the worst. So we couldn't get on to get it the podcast up as we usually do early in the day. Anyway, so it's up now. So go to sonyaking.com and you can look at the past podcasts. You can look at the blogs that I write with it. And again, because of COVID, there's no shows going on. But once we're able to get out and do stuff, that's where they'll be listed.
Hopefully soon.
Yeah, I hope so. But anyway, everybody, I hope that you're happy and safe out there. And hope you're having a wonderful day. Thanks so much for hanging out. Love ya.
Bye, y'all.